Hey y'all, Lisa Van Ness here, and today I'm joined by Daniel Doucet, a local customer and a third generation pen accumulator.
Yes.
And we're going to discuss his ever-growing collection and the fact that he's a college student and still manages to use his fountain pens on a routine basis, which we think is pretty awesome. So Daniel, first of all, let's talk about your start into fountain pens.
Well, I always grew up with fountain pens in the house all over the place. My dad is a doctor, so he normally had the usual joking doctor's horrible handwriting, but he always had a Lamy or something similar on him that he would have for work. And even before that, my grandfather always had fountain pens on his desk. He had tons of Schaeffers and Parkers, and I would always get to play around with those when I was a little kid. So it just kind of got into the point where I got my first fountain pen and I just started writing. I normally used to always type everything and have it all on the computer, but there was just something about writing and putting ink onto paper that was just so inviting once I started.
And so I
began my wonderful addiction of collecting all sorts of weird and quirky pens because that's what I normally go for.
So let's talk about, you're in college right now. What's your go-to? Let's start with that. Let's start with your go-to right now.
My go-to three for college writing is normally I mix one of my TWSBIs. Most of the time it's my TWSBI Eco, which I love to death because of how easy it is to fill, and I never run out of ink, and it has a very nice fine nib. I normally take one of those, and then I pick from one of my 3 gold nib pens. Most of the time it's the Pilot Vanishing Point, because I can keep this in my pocket of my shirt, and if I need to just write something down really quick, or I'm going in between classes and have to sign into class, I can just click it open, write down my name, and then put it right back in my shirt pocket. And then normally I take one fun, super quirky pen with me, which is normally either my Edison Nouveau Premier in Tequila Sunrise, because it's bright and it's flashy and people always ask me what it is, or I take my favorite pen, which is my Pineider La Grande Bellezza, because it's just so unique and pretty and it gives such a wonderful depth when writing.
So what paper do you use in that you're using these fountain pens?
Most of the time I use one of my Clairefontaine notebooks.
Okay.
I have 5 of them for my classes, and I write all my notes in all of those. If I have to write on normal school paper, I'll pick either my Platinum, my Platinum 3776, my Vanishing Point, or I do have a extra fine TWSBI Eco as well, and I will use those with normally Noodler's X Feather, which is really, really amazing for any students in college. You can write on any type of paper and it will not have any issues at all.
That's true. It's always a fountain pen friendly kind of ink.
It's a wonderful fountain pen friendly ink.
The pens that you typically carry every day, what inks do you have in them at this point?
So for all these, starting over here, this one I actually have an ink that matches it. It's Robert Oster Signature Orange, and that was actually a gift from my girlfriend because she saw me get the pen and bought a bottle of ink behind my back and gave it to me for my birthday so that it would match the pen very nicely. It's a beautiful, deep, bright orange with a lot of depth to it. With the Pineider, I was born in June, so my birthstone is Alexandrite, which changes color depending on what light hits it. So the pen is green, but I have, I believe, De Atramentis Aubergine, which is also Alexander Hamilton, and it just matches really well. It flows fantastic on a pen that consumes a lot of ink when you write with it. For my sort of fun sheening ink that I use to show off, I have Organic Studios Nitrogen and my TWSBI 580 ALR. It's a deep, nice royal blue with a red sheen that really can't be matched by anything else. It's the only issue that I ever have with it is that it takes a while to dry. So if you're a lefty, be very wary of it, or you're going to have inky fingers and inky hands all the times. For my TWSBI Ecos, both this one and my completely clear one, they're kind of my test pens. I use them to fill from ink samples. I use them for any ink that has any type of glisten or shimmer or anything in it. So right now, this Eco is filled with Colorverse Hayabusa, which was the limited edition for Tokyo for 2018. In my TWSBI Go, which is my newest pen, I have a 1.1 stub, so this is my fun pen. This is my signature pen, and I currently have De Atramentis Pompadour Pink, which is a beautiful, deep, rich pink with green sheen. These three, I'm going to have to pull out my cheat sheet because I swap colors in and out of them like crazy. For the Platinum 3776, I have De Atramentis Royal Blue, which is a deep, deep blue, which matches the color of the pen perfectly. And this
is one of my favorite pens.
This is sort of my dressy pen for if I go to a nice dinner or something. For my Pilot Vanishing Point, I matched my Oroshizuku inks that I have, but right now I currently have Oroshizuku Murasaki Shikibu, which is a wonderful purple. It's a bit lighter than the Hayabusa, but it just writes really well, it flows well, and it is fantastic. And lastly, with the keeping the ink with the pen, currently my Lamy 2000, which is my only medium nib that I have, has Lamy Vibrant Pink in it. And
nice. Well, there's a little bit of shimmer in that Vibrant Pink.
There's a little bit of shimmer, but it doesn't...
It's very subtle.
It's very, very subtle. It really is just an ink that'll flow through almost every single one of my pens and have no issue, and cleaning takes no time with it. So those are the main ones for that. And then I have my other little three that I keep with me, which are two of my Lamy, which are my two Lamys. I have a Lamy Safari and then a Lamy Vista. The Vista is currently empty, awaiting a new ink that I have coming in from a friend of mine that actually mixes his own ink.
Oh, nice.
He's doing a couple test batches, and so he has some stuff coming inside and he wanted to see it in a clear demonstrator. So I have this, which is my upgraded Vista, which has a Lamy gold nib, because it was actually, this is my first fountain pen that I ever got, and I have written many pages with it thus far. And then in the Safari, it's the Safari Petrol, and I actually have, I want to say, Colorverse Gravity Wave in it, which is another wonderful Colorverse ink. It has a lot of depth to it.
Sheens.
It sheens beautifully, and is the closest match to Lamy Petrol that I have found. It matches very closely. It doesn't have as much of the color shift that Petrol has, but it has a beautiful sheen. And then lastly, I have my pen for when I'm working in my shop. I do some metal and woodworking, and so I have my Karis Customs Fountain K with a fine titanium nib. And normally what's in this is the last of my Colorverse inks, which is Colorverse Quasar, which is
crazy.
It is a crazy ink. It is a very,
and then you have a copper section
blue
on that one.
I do have a copper section on it. It just adds it adds a bit of weight towards the end of the pen, and it really just balances the pen perfectly in your hand. Like, I can sit with it like this, and it will always stay weighted towards my finger. It won't try to go backwards. And this is a pen that has seen quite a few tumbles out of my pocket from working, and it still looks like the day I got it. These are definitely very durable pens, and they're worth every cent you pay for them.
Well, and they're not that expensive.
And
compared
they
to,
aren't.
like, your 3776 was definitely more than your Karis Custom, for sure.
Yes. It really is. For, I think it's around, what? $75 to $80. It is a wonderful pen, and it will be a fountain pen that you will never be able to break. If you do, I will be highly surprised.
You can mess the nib up, because people do.
You can
drop them.
You can mess a nib up, but you'll never destroy the body of the pen itself.
So is there any other pens that you would like to talk about? Do you have any that you...
My one pen, which is really important to me, is I was always the artsy kid in my family. I was always one for music and musical theater and such. And one of my favorite films of all time is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And so on this pen, which is a Lamy Lux Ruthenium, I believe I have engraved Pure Imagination, because it's to remind me of never stop dreaming and imagining everything. And that's why this pen is often in my top pocket. If it isn't, it's the first pen I go for on my desk.
Gotcha.
It stays.
Yeah, because you have a lot of Lamis. I know you come in
I have
times, but you give them as gifts as well.
I give a lot of Lamis as gifts because they're a great starter pen. If something happens to the nib, it's not too hard or expensive to replace them on there. It's just slipping the nib off and slipping it back on. Even my mom, who has a Lamy All-Star, she actually replaced her own nib on her pen when she dropped it the first time. And it's just they're really great gifts.
So I'm interrupting to let y'all know that we are a store and we are open. I know I say this in every video, so there's moments where I do seem to be going, because there's customers that actually are shopping while we're trying to shoot video. Not a big deal, and it's just part of being a real store. And he's one of those very customers.
I've interrupted videos sometimes, but
yes.
There's something about the giant ink wall behind you that you kind of just have to go through and look at everything.
So we do attempt to shoot the videos, and I'm going to hit pause. We're back, and I had to take a break, sorry. We are talking about the Lamis and what a good gift they make, and we had engraved this for him, but the All-Stars make a great engravable gift. And this was something personal to him, which, now it's something even more personal because it's not just a cool pen. It's a cool pen that you're going to keep and treasure. And as a gift idea, they work really well.
They're fantastic.
And they're under $50.
Yeah, the All-Stars are fantastic. The Luxes I like a little bit more because the case that it comes with when you buy it, the little metal tube is kind of fun as a little gift box. But they're fantastic pens. They write really well. I haven't written with a single Lamy that didn't write smooth and nearly perfect. And they're fun pens. You can get any color Lamy Safari under the rainbow if you look hard enough for the special editions.
It is true. So you guys, if you are a college student and you're not sure about the fact that you can use them on an everyday basis, we have an example in Daniel and several other people that you can use them on a daily basis. My daughter uses hers as well, and she's in grad school. The one thing that she always says, and you may agree with this, is don't share your pens with just anyone. Make sure you know how they write before you share that pen.
Absolutely. Please never hand a pen over to someone that's never seen a fountain pen before. The best thing to do is try to introduce it to them slowly.
So show them how they work.
Show them how they work, and then
keep a cheap ballpoint.
I keep a couple cheap ballpoints on me for whenever anyone asks to borrow a pen. Just keep the pens on you as close as possible. Otherwise, people will have slippery fingers and say, "Oh, I can borrow this pen."
They'll drop it. They'll lose it.
I have repaired 3 Lamis before.
Oh, at least they're nibs that we can replace, though.
At least they're nibs that they can replace.
It's not like it's a vintage pen, that isn't replaceable.
Don't take a pen to class that you aren't willing to have break in some weird way. People will bump desks. People will pick up pens. But definitely, if you want to try to write with a pen for college, do. It's fantastic. Just make sure that you bring a pencil with you on test days.
Okay, good idea. Good advice. If you guys have any questions for us, feel free to comment below. If you have any thoughts or ideas, again, feel free to comment below. You can find us at 11610 Pleasant Ridge Road here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and sometimes you can even find him hanging out at the store. But if you're not local to Little Rock, you can find us at Just Van S on Instagram or vaness1938.com on the interwebs, and we'll be happy to answer your questions, whether it's on the internet, on the YouTube, or through Instagram. And you can always email us as well. But come on by and hang out anytime you get the chance. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.